Amazon, Nike, Starbucks. Sound familiar? Many of our favorite brands are actually represented by beloved Greek mythology characters because of their influential stories. Hey everybody, my name is Ashley Gray. My senior year of high school, many eons ago, I took a Greek mythology class and instantly fell in love with everything about it. I will never forget how much Athena stood out to me as a powerful female figure and how I aspired to be just like her. Today we will see why Athena is regarded as one of the most prominent characters of the Olympic gods and goddesses. What Athena stands for represents her birth story, and some of the largest myths known about her will provide insight to the power figure she is revered as. To give you some background information and insight, let's take a look at how Athena, or what Athena represents. According to History.com access on October 17th, 2020, Athena is the goddess of wisdom and defense. She is known not only for wisdom and defense, but handicraft as well. In another article, a summary of the powers of the Greek goddess Athena, access October 18th. The same aforementioned article, she is described as being the female counterpart to Ares, the Greek god of war. She represents the disciplined, strategic side of war, though. Athens, the capital city of Greece, is actually named after Athena. The Parthenon in Athens is actually built in her honor, according to the Ancient History Encyclopedia website accessed on October 17th, 2020. The wisdom was another one of her attributes. The owl, as you can see over here on her shoulder, owls are associated with wisdom, and she is the goddess of wisdom. Among her wisdom and defense, she also possessed the femininity of delicate craftsmanship. It will be covered more in depth later, but Athena was a master weaver. She was also credited with being the goddess that created and invented items that were produced and given to mortals, such as chariots, plows, ships, rakes, and pottery. With information about Athena and what she stands for, the stories of her birth will give us a little bit more context into her personality and traits. One of the most fascinating myths about Athena is actually her birth story. There are actually two different versions that vary from each other a little bit as well, too. The site ancientliterature.com, access October 18th, 2020, describes one account of Athena's birth. Her father is the all-powerful Olympic god Zeus. The first myth is that Zeus married his first wife, Metis. In order to avoid a prophecy that any of his offspring with Metis would overpower him, he swallowed his wife so that she would not give birth. Unbeknownst to him, she was already pregnant. 9 months later, a fully armored and adult Athena burst from Zeus's forehead. The second myth that we know of, it is from Britannia.com, access October 18th, 2020. It depicts it slightly different. It is said that Athena is actually a motherless being, that she was produced just from her father Zeus. Zeus was suffering from a headache, and he asked that one of his other sons take an axe and bust open his head to help relieve the pain, and out shot out a fully armored adult screaming war cries Athena. She is described as being motherless, which is also kind of given a reason why Zeus prefers her so much, because she's a little bit more on the masculine side of things. She never received mother's care, and that is what kind of inevitably turned her into more of a masculine female for that time. Understanding what she represents and how she came about into the world would help explain the most common myths known about her as well. Athena has many memorable tales about her. With Athena being a master artisan, she excelled at weaving and was thought to be the most decorative. She was thought to be the most excellent weaver in the world. It was also her most feminine trait as well, too. One of the most common myths begins with a maid named Arachne, which is right here. Long story short is that Arachne the maid was talking about how great of a weaver she was, the best weaver in the world. Athena came in as an old woman, challenged her. They got into a contest. Athena ended up showing herself that she was. Arachne ended up leaving. Athena lost her temper, and she said, since you like to spin so much, you can spin for the rest of your life, and turned her into a spider. Hence, we were spiders and everything like that. Also, according to Homer's The Odyssey, if you guys have heard of the Trojan War, the Trojan horse, Athena was actually cited as being the one that gave the idea to create the horse to give as the gift for all of them to load inside to be taken into the city. They were told that the horse was a gift from Athena herself and to bring it in so that they could win the war. Last, the Trojans were destroyed from the inside out once the Greeks escaped the giant wood horse into the enclosed village at night. This act of wisdom on Athena's part helped the Greeks win that war inevitably. The famous myths about Athena help bring her to life and showcase her traits of being a Greek goddess. Athena is seen as the goddess with such wisdom and strength, a fascinating birth story, and a crafty goddess not to be upset. It's easy to see now why she is thought of so highly and regarded as an important figure. I invite you to observe all the things around you to see what Greek influences there are in our everyday lives and in the brands that we see. Thank you. Any questions?
So is this like really true?
What part? Wait, hold on. Thank you for your question, Darius. As far as is this really true, what part are you asking about?
Oh, the lady, lady gave birth to a spider.
So, do you know a lot about? Do you know a lot about mythology or no? Okay, so when I was in high school, I took a couple classes. I got really into it. It was really neat to me. So, you know how today we have religion, and the stories of Jesus, Noah, whatever. So this is what people used. They created mythologies because paganism all everything, but they had gods and they worshipped all those gods, just like you have Jesus or Allah or whatever. So they created all of these stories because that's pretty much how they described how the world began. How, we all know, well, most of us know that Jesus came from Mary. Well, Athena came from Zeus. And it kind of explains how these characters came into the world. But it also is kind of like a moral story. We have the fables, kind of when we did the last thing. Fables kind of tell us what not to do and lessons. That's what they did, is they used this stuff as lessons. So as far as like the Arachne thing, it was boastfulness, on her behalf, and from there. So it's not an actual real thing, obviously, but that is actually something that was one of the most common myths about her, is that she actually turned this maid into a spider. So.
Good job, great job. Thank you. Yay! And thank you for asking your question. All right, so that brings up our next person. So to do I'll do it for you. I got it. I am the handy dandy little cleaning lady. All right, so our next speaker is, are you excited? Calm down. So much excitement. A little wet. Are you using papers or what? Okay, so it'll be okay. All right, so good. All right. Now then, let me pull. Oh! I forgot to turn it off. Hold on. Actually, it's still going.